have protesters invaded and gotten inside Parliament. Senior officers have told me in confidence they did not have an advance intelligence brief about the intensity of the protest so that they prepare in advance. The National Intelligence Service slept on the job. And the problem is simple. The Director General of the National Intelligence Service, Nuruddin Haji, was a junior officer in the National Intelligence Service before he was appointed as DPP. When he was appointed to the office of the Director General, because of inferiority complex, he chased away all the people who were senior to him when he was in the service, therefore crippling the capacity of that service and making it dysfunctional. 3 directors were chased away and reassigned to desk jobs in ministries across government. 13 assistant directors, men and women with proven track record of intelligence collection and analysis, were removed from the National Intelligence Service, leaving a shell under a clueless Director General who has no capacity to run the organization. And that is why the security sector was caught off guard by the intensity, the anger of the Kenyan people, the agitation of the Kenyan people, the resilience of the Kenyan people. Had Nuruddin Haji done his job, we will not be where we are today. He has no capacity. He is out of the country most of the time on business trips. The country is on his own. My boss, President William Ruto, is exposed. That he has to back down and admit that he has hurt the people of Kenya. Yet this matter has been in public domain for the last 2 months. I want to say that Nuruddin Haji must take responsibility for the deaths that occurred. He must take responsibility for the mayhem. He must take responsibility for failing President William Ruto. He must take responsibility for failing the government of the Republic of Kenya. He must take responsibility for failing the Kenyan nation by not doing his job and advising correctly. And he must do the honorable thing, not just take responsibility, but resign from that office and allow the president to pick a competent Director General.
The marriage between President William Samoei Ruto and his deputy Gachagua is toxic and it must be called off. The clergy who united these two together, even though it is said that what God has put together, no man should put asunder, on this one we want to defy that clarion call, because this one, I don't know who put it together, whether it is God or the devil himself, but what we know now is that this relationship is very toxic and it must be called off, because if they don't separate sooner than soonest, it might lead to death. Don't get me wrong. You only know that there is a problem at your neighbor's door when they start quarreling and you hear them revealing secrets that they should have kept under the bed. We have always questioned the relationship between Gachagua and his boss when he has always snubbed most of his events, failing to receive him when the president is from trips abroad. And regarding, he's a man who says he's fearless and truthful. He does not keep quiet when things are wrong. So yesterday, in the middle of the controversy, in the middle of this turmoil, when William Ruto is subdued by Kenyans who are telling him that the Finance Bill 2024 is just a mirage, it's not good for us, William Ruto called a press conference. And this press conference had been announced, in time, in good time, because by morning, we already knew that the president was going to brief the country on the situation, the current situation, at about evening. Rigathi Gachagua skipped most of those events and instead chose to be in Mombasa with the teachers. So finally, Rigathi also told us that he was going to have a press briefing. He waited for his boss to strike fast, and this really raised a lot of eyebrows. The president told us that he had succumbed to the pressure and he had taken back the finance bill to the parliament. Rigathi Gachagua should have stood with the position of William Ruto. Instead, he called for a press conference and started reading a riot act to the president, hiding under the guise of talking to the Director General of the NIS, Nordin Haji. And Rigathi Gachagua was wondering why it took William Ruto too long, why it took William Ruto bloodshed to realize that Kenyans did not want the finance bill. He was accusing or pointing accusing fingers to the NIS boss that he should have told William Ruto long enough that this bill was bad and Kenyans were going to reject it. He also said the Inspector General is incompetent and his appointment was also shrouded in incompetence. Now, the Director General of the NIS did not take these words kindly, and he answered Rigathi Gachagua. In his answer, it is clear that William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua are hunting for each other. They're backstabbing each other and they're plotting for the downfall of each other. Nordin Haji said many things, but I'm interested in just two of them. And it says that I'm at number 2 because I don't want to read the whole of it. As he was answering Rigathi Gachagua, he says that the DP's claims and words suggest that he has a personal interest in the intelligence briefs revolving around the protests. Could it be that he is worried that the NIS may have pinned responsibility at his doorstep? I want us to go very slow on this. Could it be that he's afraid that the NIS could have pinned responsibility at his doorstep? We are at a point where the president is saying that the Gen Z started a move that was very peaceful and organized. But he says that there are criminals who infiltrated these very calm demonstrations and they escalated into violent activities where we invaded parliament, touched government institutions. And so when Rigathi Gachagua came and said that he had information that Nordin Haji wanted to mention him or accuse him and the former president Uhuru Kenyatta, people were wondering who told him. And now, as we are looking for the perpetrators, William Ruto had said that he knows them and he will deal with them very, very firmly and decisively. Nordin Haji is asking, could it be that he knows that NIS has pinned responsibility at his doorstep? In other words, could it be that he knows that his motives are have always been asked? Number 2, the NIS boss is saying that the DP should be aware that this service has files and extensive information about him that are damaging to him, but we have kept it under wraps. We invite him to shed off the DP tag so that this service can show him what a personal fight looks like. Rigathi had said yesterday that the people should understand, and he was referring to the president, that they should understand that they were elected together. He was not an appointee, and therefore he was simply telling the president, we are joined at the hip. You cannot kick me away. Ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua has been invited. He has been told we have very damaging files. If you are man enough, resign so that we can show you. In other words, what Rigathi Gachagua thought were cases that had been dealt with, those cases are still there. They are just wrapped, in the words of the NIS boss. If Rigathi Gachagua resigns today, then you know what it means. This is what Ngunyi Mutai is saying. Win Mutai has got 3 tweets that I want us to read very fast. Number one, he says, Gachagua has just called off the demonstrations because he is the co-president. Now we know who funded them and who can stop them. He also mentioned Uhuru. Two, Gachagua has started a war between the Somali nation and Kikuyus. This is calculated. He is a dangerous novice. The other thing that Will Mutai is saying, he's saying that the only man who would convince Ruto to reject the finance bill was Nordin Haji. Why? He had intelligence. Now Gachagua calls him incompetent. Why? Nordin saw his civilian coup and stopped it. Gen Z wrote the treason. The treason is Rigiji. His statement was disgraceful. Finally, this is what he says, that your problem is Rigiji. Uhuru and the Russians are just his masters. If you look at Nguni Mutai, he's simply saying that there must have been a civilian coup against William Samoei Ruto. Let me ask you a question. Rigiji told us that he was informed by reliable senior police officers that they didn't get enough information. What Rigiji was saying is that the people who were supposed to be talking directly to William Samoei Ruto were talked to him. And so Rigiji is simply telling us that he's trying to divide the government. He wants to talk to some senior officers without the knowledge of the president. It is clear now, because it has been reported, that William Ruto was given prior information that people that were going to throng the streets, the number was going to be very huge and that the police would be overwhelmed if they were not prepared enough. So it was William Ruto who failed to act. It is not the NIS. We have reliable information that the NIS did their job. But as usual, William Ruto thought, hizi ni zile mchezo za kawaida. So what does it mean, ladies and gentlemen? Number one, William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua will not finish their term together, because we are in a situation where each and everyone is plotting for his brother's downfall. It is a marriage where you cannot eat food that has been prepared by your partner at a Coup. It is very clear they will not go up to 2027 together. And if they will have to maneuver and brave the political storms, I don't know how it's gonna be, because it's bad. That is why Rigiji no longer uses the KDF choppers. Number two, Rigiji cannot resign now. If he dares resign, that will be the beginning of his problems, because we have been informed that his cases have been wrapped temporarily just because he is a deputy president. Rigiji will have a big problem if he will not be on the ballot in 2027, because Ruto will not pick him as a running mate, and he cannot sit there and watch. He must try to fight tooth and nail, because Ruto has warned him through Nordin Haji that I will arrest you. The moment you shelve that cap of being a DP, I will arrest you. And that means Rigiji must be on the ballot by 2027. Nothing more. And he will try tooth and nail to ensure that he's part of the coming government. Number three, those who want to look for running mates, you must be very, very careful. If William Ruto picked Rigiji against the decision of the other members who picked or who had elected Kithure Kindiki, this is his own battle. It is his baggage, or tuseme ni mzigo yake tu abebe, because the other members of parliament saw it. Less than 2 years into office, he's telling us that Rigiji has been plotting to, sabotage him. He's trying to sabotage him so that he can fail. And Rigiji, on the other hand, has been saying that William Ruto is sabotaging him. So this is too bad. Choose a running mate that you know that you are very, very much compatible. Because the way things are going, we could wake up to some very devastating news. Two, if Rigathi Gachagua manages to unite Mount Kenya, then William Ruto will be left alone. This kind of relationship has reached a snag. They will no longer read from the same page, because Rigiji has literally is defying William Ruto. When your boss is holding a press conference, then you wait for him to finish, then you also counter. It is bad. Lastly, karma. What goes round What comes round goes round. What goes round comes round. William Ruto has met his match. I read a book called Pwagu na Pwaguzi. I've tried to translate it into English, the only nearest I can get, because I'm not missing Kalimani, I'm not a good translator, but it only means brain encounter brains. When you think you're smart, you get someone who is smarter. For a very long time, William Ruto thought he was the smartest, very shrewd and cunning. But now he's meeting his own match, a man who learned from him the way he was dealing with Uhuru Kenyatta. And now Rigiji is repeating the same script that William Ruto had set. I can assure you that the way things are going, they might just decide that they are arresting Rigiji. What do you think can happen if they decide to make good that threat? They accuse Rigiji of plotting to overturn the government, plotting a coup, and they arrest him. What do you think can happen? Please share with me your comments on the comment section just to know what you think can happen. And you believe these two can go together up to 2027? Or do you think it is a ploy against Kenyans to forget the real elephant in the room? Please share with me. Kindly subscribe to our channel.